Right, and looking right now in front of us, we have beautiful Benelli 756, and we're located at the Peterborough Motorcycle Museum in South Australia. A very, very unique motorcycle museum, and luckily today we've got Belinda to talk to us. Belinda, this lovely Benelli here, can you tell us a little bit very briefly about it?
Okay, well, as you can see, it was painted by Dream Machine for Dave Hill out the rock group Slade. This was done in 1977, and yes, it's quite unique, being the only one that looks like this.
Right, now behind us I see a wonderful collection. Can you just tell me very briefly about some of these bikes? Where did they come from for a start?
Well, all these little 50cc's have come from different people over in Europe, like Italy, Germany, France, one from Belgium, and they're from like the late 50s, 60s and very early 70s.
Right.
Yes, and they were what was pumped out in those times, mainly aimed at the young generation then.
Except I can see here we've got a Maserati. We're all familiar with Maserati cars, but not familiar with Maserati motorbikes. This one's a 1959, once again a little 50. I believe it has some history here in Australia.
Well, all I know that it was raced at Brands Hatch,
Which of course is in the UK, a very famous track.
Yeah, and it was found in a shed over there by a couple of guys, and then brought out to Australia, and we brought it off the people.
Right. Talking at the UK, most of us are familiar with a gentleman by the name of Lyle O'Brien, and very shortly we have a bike that was given to Lyle from Montesa, but he wasn't quite happy with the performance of it. It's an Impala. Now the reason it's called an Impala too, I think, is because the modifications he made to it, he put a Capra head on it and eventually end up with a 150 km/h motorbike. So it's very unique by itself. And sitting right next to it is an Ossa. Most of us are familiar with perhaps the MAR, Mick Andrews replica Ossas, but this one's a road racer. And do you know who actually raced it, Belinda?
Yes, this Ossa Wildfire here was raced by Dennis Crane.
Right.
And I've had people in tell me wonderful stories about how he was a cat with 9 lives.
Right, so he survived. Of course, we do see the odd thing like a beautiful TS 185 Suzuki here, but that's not the real purpose of this museum. We have mainly an emphasis on European small bikes. I see a couple of nice Jawas there. And moving up past the Wolf, there's an automatic or Honda-matic and a couple of beautiful Moto Guzzi's. We see a S3 in the background there, and of course this very early series Le Mans 850 was right in the very first series of Moto Guzzi, and as we know 2021 is the 100th anniversary of those. But while we're just looking here, where else in the world I doubt you could see a Benelli road racer. This one took many years to reconstruct, and it's absolutely unique. And like most of the exhibits in the museum, right next door to it is this beautiful France board tracker with a 350 Jap motor in it. This bike raced from 1927 and mainly in France. It was relocated to Germany during the wartime, and eventually it was bought and restored. But talking of bikes from the local area, as we move down here past the Laverdas and the Vilia, a Bultaco, Paloma, little Benelli in the background there, we come to something that's pretty unique to the Peterborough area. And right in front of me, I have the favourite from 1914. So Belinda, to perhaps finish this little clip, can you tell me some of the history? Must admit, I'm not familiar with the favourite.
Yeah. Well, this is a 770cc 1914 motorcycle. Only they made about 50. Some were single, some were twin, and it was actually made in Peterborough here by Jack Smith's garage.
Right. So there probably would be. Is there any left in the world that
There's 5 that we know of.
5. And if you come to the Peterborough Motorcycle Museum at Peterborough, make sure you perhaps check the web when they're opened. There's phone numbers on the web.
Yes.
Yeah, and ring ahead to find out, but it's certainly a well worthwhile experience. And it doesn't matter whether you've been to the Barber Motorsport Museum in Alabama, the British Motorcycle Museum in Birmingham, or whether you've been to some of the great museums we have in Australia. I can guarantee as a motorcycle enthusiast, you just don't see a collection, especially small bikes. And thank you very much, Belinda. We wish you all the best, and we hope that despite the building being very full, that you do keep collecting them, you and your husband, and showing them to us, the public. Thank you very much for showing me around today. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and tell all your friends about the Peterborough Motorcycle Museum.